Hello everyone, welcome to MCP channel. This is Ross. 2025 is drawing to the close, but what kind of year has it been for AI? Some call it the year of vibe coding, others say it's the year of agents. But from my perspective, we can say 2025 has been a breakthrough year for MCP. After all, neither vibe coding nor agentic coding can truly deliver results without MCP at their core. MCP has become so widespread that nearly every major SaaS platform has implemented to some degree. As developers, we often find ourselves building MCPs on our own. But here's a question worth asking. How long does it really take to build an MVP of an MCP? Minutes? Hours? Days? In this tutorial, I'll introduce a common pattern that allows you to build a practical MCP both quickly and reliably. Show me the candle charts of Tesla in the last 40 days. For any day whose close price went beyond 3% or fell below minus 3%, call the MCP server to pull the news and explain why. Here is the final result. That's the candle chart. You'll see different colors. You see the star, which means that's a big day, up or down. So if you hover your mouse, you see the explanation why there's big change on that day. This is a financial MCP server we're gonna build. This one does not need web scraping, does not need to search internet, and it only uses a free REST API, which costs you $0, and you can build it yourself. Okay, let's get started. Here's a step-by-step workflow you can follow to build any MCP server. Step 1. Research and preparation. Start by identifying the use cases for your MCP, validate its feasibility, and gather all the necessary resources, such as the API key or credentials, before diving into any development work. Step 2. Install dependencies. Decide on your tech stack. Are you building your MCP in Python or JavaScript? Then install the necessary dependencies. This might include a database client, PDF image processing libraries, or other tools specific to your use case. Step 3. Create utility functions. These aren't part of your core business logic, but they are essential for smooth development work. Build helper functions for tasks like database CRUD operations, the time manipulation, or API calls. Basically, anything that makes your core logic easier to implement. So this is also preparation work. Step 4. Implement the core business logic. And this is where the value actually lies. Develop feature-specific functions and that can each handle a well-defined task, just one by one. And this will serve as the building blocks of your MCP. So you need to spend most of the time in step 4. Step 5, build a CLI tool for testing. So this is my favorite. So just to build a testing script is not enough because testing script is not very flexible. So all just use the fixed data. To test it in the more reliable way, I prefer to use command line interface. But this isn't just for testing. Once you build a command line tool, and you can also manually execute recurring tasks, such as fetching the daily stock prices via cron job every morning, and you can test it, you can use it without going through the full MCP interface. So I think this is pretty useful. Step 6. To build MCP server. Okay, that's the final step, and we can create your MCP server using a carefully selected subset of your feature functions. In most cases, you will only need to expose 2 or 3 key tools that present the core functionality of your application. I'm gonna explain why later. Okay, so let's just get started for that real work. Okay, step 1, research and preparation. What do we want to build? We want to build a financial MCP server, which can fetch the stock prices, as well as the news, which ideally can explain the fluctuation of stock prices. So we need an API to do this one. I found I found something very useful, which is called Alphavantage. So Alphavantage provides free APIs, which allows you to call 25 times a day. Let's take a look at the web page. So it gives you the stock market API and also the global news API. You can click this button to get a free API key and just fill the forms to click get a free API keys. So all this organization emails can be some random things. I don't want to put my real emails on it. And you click get free API key. So that's your key. Just remember this one. We're gonna use it later. Now we have the API key. We can use Alphavantage REST APIs. Let's first take a look at the stock market API. You click this button. Yeah, it has a lot of stock APIs. You can ignore the premium one because this one is not free. What we are after is this one, time series daily. Okay, this one, you can use your free API key. The function, it must be the time series daily. The symbol is a stock symbol. And I think Google has 5 letters. The output size is compact, because full is also premium feature. Data type you can ignore, by default is JSON. Required one is API key, so this we already have. Now we can just copy an example to see how it works. I copy this one, and we're going to use Postman to test. So first I need to create an environment for that. And the environment is in Alphavantage. I create a variable called API key. We're going to put our API keys right here. Yeah, we just make it sensitive. Okay, collections. We create a new collection for our Alphavantage testing. I create a blank collection, also called Alphavantage. Add a request. So this is the one that we need to test first. Yeah. So if I click send, yeah, I can see the data. So you notice this API key is called demo because this one is provided from their official website, which only works for IBM. If you put something else like Apple, it's not gonna work. So we need to replace this one with our own API key environment to select Alphavantage. Yeah, so now you can call the API for every stock market symbol. See, the latest one is today's price. The earliest one, this one, yeah, 4th of August. So basically, I think it just contains about 100 items. Yeah, I think that should be enough for testing purpose. I'm gonna rename this one to the stock prices. Yeah. Obviously, the only thing we need to change is this symbol. Like the other things, they remain the same. But date range you can't customize because it's a free API. And always just from the most recent date and backtracing to, I think, about 3 months, 100 daily prices. So that's stock prices. Next one, we're gonna take a look. Next one should be the global news API. This one. Still ignore the premium one. We use this thing. I think that's this one. It calls function is news sentiment. Tickers. Yeah, basically we don't need to specify with which stock symbol we check the news. You know, we just want to put whatever news as possible using their API, and then we can filter using our code, filter using our own logic. We don't need to specify the tickers. You don't need to specify the topics, and you do need to specify the time from, time to. Yeah, the limit, by default limit is 50, but we want to make the maximum use of our free API. Just remember that we can only call 25 times per day, so we make sure every time they can put as much data as possible. So I'm always gonna want to use a limit 1,000. So let's just copy this one. We create a new request. Paste it. Let's see. Yeah. So this one has 50 items, but if you put something like limit to 1,000, and this API key, I still use my own API key. Yeah. We don't need ticker. We want from to, as in time from. Yeah, this one, and time to. Yeah, that's about from 21st to 22nd, midnight to midnight. Okay, we send. Perfect. Now it has 1,000 items, and for each item, for each feed, you see this a lot of details actually. Now, to build MCP server, clearly we don't need all of them, but it contains a lot of data we don't use. But what we do care about, I think, is the title and also the summary, because summary just has good explanation of what happened on that day, and which might be relevant to stock prices change. Something also I'm interested in is the taker sentiment. Sentiment is a score between -1 and +1. This one is to measure investors' their sentiment. Are they bearish or are they bullish? It also just give you labels, neutral, bullish, bearish, something. This one also going to be useful. So now we have everything ready for the REST API. I just rename this one as news. Yeah. Now we can go to the next step. Let's come back to our terminal. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an Alphavantage MCP repo. Create an empty folder, Alphavantage. Yeah, this is going to be our repo for the MCP. So I enter it. My favorite ID is cursor, but I think VS Code should be the same. Just use your most favorite ID. Cursor started. Yeah. To do this one, we need MCP. I mean, just to automatically get API keys from the web page. So we need to use playwright at MCP. And because I'm using the Claude Code to do all this sort of work, I'm also need to use the Claude Code way of the MCP. You can come to the Playwright MCP, this web page, see how to install it. If you want to use cursor directly, you can also use the cursor way to install MCP. So we just specify these settings. And because I'm using Claude Code, I'm gonna execute this command, Claude MCP at Playwright. Yeah, that's it. By the way, in the most recent version of Claude Code, it has a beta version of Chrome, which allows you to directly open a Chrome window and to do any web scraping or AI sort of stuff. But in this tutorial, we're still using Playwright. Okay, and now it's fine. I think it's installed. I can double check by Claude MCP list. Yeah, fine, it's connected. So next, we're gonna write a slash command. Using a slash command to automatically get 10 keys. I'm gonna show you how to do this. So first of all, create a folder, which is the home directory of all the slash commands. I think just call Claude commands. Okay. And then here, we create a new file, a markdown file. I'm gonna call it 00. The 00 just means the step 0, right? Preparations, get keys. Yeah. To save time, I'm gonna copy the thing I've already written. Yeah, it's here. Yeah. So you see, I'm using Haiku. This one is not a very complex task. We want it to be quick. So I'm using the fastest model to handle this task. There's an argument hint, it's number of keys. So if you want 10 keys, just specify the 10 for that. So the instruction set here is navigate to this website and do the following. Refresh the page and fill the organization and fill the emails randomly, and then click the get free API key. Now after the API key is shown, you use some jQuery to just get the actual key and then save it to the .key list, this file. So I'm gonna create this file first and key list. At this moment it's empty. By calling the / command, I think ideally we just want this .key list to fill 10 keys, right? Let's see how the magic works. I start Cloud Code. Yeah, I'm using dangerous state permissions, but because I know what I'm doing, I just don't want to confirm everything before it does any steps, okay? So because we already have this / command, you can just add 0, get keys, number of keys. Maybe just starting from 3. Okay, let's see what will happen. Yeah, it opens the URL, it comes to here. Yeah, let's just use some email address which has already been used, but that's fine. It's gonna do some other keys. Yeah, so this one's ready. So that's the first key we get. Now it's gonna refresh the page and to enter some other random organizations and emails. Yeah, that's the second key. That's the third one. Okay, it looks like job is done. So next, you're gonna save everything to the file. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the key list. You see the 3 keys listed here. You can do 10s if you want. And then you can just rotate the keys just to use them one by one such that the limit will never be hit, okay? So I think up to now, the step 0, research and preparation is done. Next, we are gonna do the step 1, which is installing dependencies, okay? And I did another 7 times. So now I have 10 keys. That should be more than enough, okay? And so up to now, the research is done and preparation is done. So next we are gonna do some installing dependencies. And because this one is a TypeScript REPL, we're gonna use Bun to do some initialization and also install dependencies. First we are gonna do is Bun init. This is going to do some initialization to make this one as a Bun REPL. And next I'm going to do the git init to make this one as a git repository. Yeah, up to now, this is a fully functioning Bun REPL. You can easily test using Bun index.ts. You see the hello, the Bun, which means this Bun REPL is working. Dependencies. Okay, so just think about what we're going to do with the MCP server. So after pulling the stock prices and news via the REST API, what are we gonna do? We need to store them into the database, right? And if you take a look at our Postman, you will notice the data actually is hierarchical. Yeah, it's the feed and about author, you see, it's an array, topics an array, and each element is an object. So the best way to store this sort of data is using some hierarchical database. And you can use Postgres, but today I'm gonna use the MongoDB. To use MongoDB, you need to install some MongoDB client dependencies. So let's come back to our cursor. Yeah, 100% you can use Postgres. It's just your personal preference. I think the difficulty should be the same. So we can do the Bun add MongoDB. So this way we are gonna install dependencies such that Bun can control the MongoDB. Yeah, and because we also want to build some CLI tools such that we can easily test how it works to check stock prices, to import data into the Mongo, and also just to import the news into the Mongo, we need some command line arguments, right? Like --help --stock, to make it easy to use. We are gonna use this dependency called y-args. What else? Yeah, so to connect to the MongoDB, we need to specify the connection string. And normally it's put into .env file. So the .env file, you need to define the environment variables. So here I'm gonna use the MongoDB connection string. So in my case, it's localhost. The port number is 278. Normally it should be 2017, but because I'm using another application already has such a port, so it's a 27018. So this port. To make our code understand .env, so we better just add another tune, add another dependency. So this one is called bun add .env. Yeah. So basically, I think that that should be enough. So that's the step 2. Sorry, this is step 1, installing dependencies from 6th step workflow. Okay, so this part is done, and let's just check how many changes we made. Git status, and clearly something we need to exclude from the Git, right? So need to do the .key list, and so the .key list shouldn't be there. So let's see, we added the .key list to the git ignore file. So other things should be fine. I think cursor, we don't need it. Yeah, all other stuff should be good. So I do git add and do some commit. That's the first commit. Okay. Next, we are gonna build the utility functions. Next, we are going to create some utility functions. And starting from here, we are going to use AI to code. We're not going to code by ourselves, right? Because AI can do this job better than us. You can use Cursor, you can use Gemini, CLI, the Codex, whatever. My preference is Cloud Code. So you can just write all the instructions from here and directly instruct Cloud Code to do the stuff, right? However, it's not recommended because if you write details from here, it's not very easy to retrieve the history back. So if you want to reuse something, to rebuild something, right? Every time you have to start from scratch. What I like to do is that I only write some temporary things, some brief things in this CLI, but I always just want to create a spec first. I don't need to create every line by myself. I can ask the AI to create a spec for AI. I'm going to show you what I mean. At this moment, we only have one slash commands, 00 get keys, right? We can create another command and spec.md. I need to put some headers. I just put something, just copy paste. So the model, I don't want to use haiku because I want accuracy. So this one, you can use Sonnet or you can use Opals. I'm going to use Opals. Yeah, I think it should be lowercase. Generate a specification for user tasks. Okay. So argument. I think we need 2 arguments. The first one in a spec file. And next one is user instructions. Yeah. Variables is very good thing. Because here, if you define some variables, and you can just use it later in your detail instructions. It has a spec file, so user instruction. Yeah, that's very good. You actually don't need to specify the index 0 or 1. The Cloud Code will be smart enough to figure this thing out. So instructions. Once we have this one, we can just execute that command. I think that should be enough. That's fine. Okay. And now we can use this slash command to generate new slash commands or new document. Yeah. So you have to quit and enter again. Our next step is to create utility functions. And this utility functions is about MongoDB. Right? So we can do something like this. Create spec file, so this should be 01. Yeah, 01. So this should be Mongo CRUD. CRUD just means create read sort of thing. and B. So this one is, yeah, you don't even need the brackets. So this one is the first argument. The second argument, you need to put your details. Right? Here you can say, create utility script. And also create a testing script to test each function. Okay, let's just give it a go. So remember, this one is not doing stuff. It's just to create a new / command, right? So we can review that command, and if everything is fine, then we can execute a new / command. So it's 2 steps. Step 1, to generate the document or / command. And step 2 is to execute the document. Okay, now you see the job has been done. But there's a problem. This one, he generated this new / command into my project directory, not into the cloud commands. So we possibly just need to update this one to fix this problem. Yeah, we can actually do this. But sometimes it's document, sometimes just / command. We can do if spec file starts with /... then it is a / command. Put the generate document as this one to this folder. So the modifications are like this. So if the spec file starts with a /, then it means a / command. And you need to put this into the .cloud commands, this folder. And also, it must follow the format of the existing / command. You know, it's just something like this. You should have the model, description, argument, hint, that sort of thing. And otherwise, if not starts with a /, it's just a normal document. You generate the document into the current directory. Okay. We can also enhance this / command to say if the spec file already exists, then just update it according to user instructions, right? Okay, so I think that's going to be very useful. You can ask him to fix the problem, and you can also ask him to update the existing specs or / commands, right? Okay, so now let's just update this one. We want to put this one into the right folder. Okay, and how to fix this one? I don't think you can directly use this script because we already made some modifications. So you can simply tell Claude to do this and to move this file to Claude commands and reformat it to / command doc markdown actually. Yeah, I think that should be enough. Okay, you see, this file has been moved to the .cloud commands, this folder, and also has been well formatted into a / command syntax. It's in the model, description, argument, hint. It uses the Sonnet, but I think possibly it's fine. Okay, and now we can execute this command. And I don't know whether it's gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna work, so we have to exit and come back again. All it needs to do is just to execute this slash command. Mongo CRUD, right? No arguments needed yet. So let's just give it a go. I think that should be fine. Okay, now the job is done. And I think Cloud Code also just create some testing script to test all this sort of thing. So in the SRC, and you see it has a mongo.test.ts, which means that we can be confident and this utility functions should be working properly. Okay, the next step is quite important to implement our business logic. Here we have two endpoints. So we want this core business logic to pull the data from the stock price and news by calling the REST API and then store them into the MongoDB. And then our MCP server can look up this data to provide the answers. To do this, we need to first just copy this response as a JSON file. The purpose of doing this is to make AI understand the structure of the response. I just put something like that. Yeah, I can use dot if you want. Yeah, but it's not valid JSON, but it doesn't matter. Then there should be another one. Similarly, we can copy the response from here. And I think you just need one speed. That should be fine. Don't make it too large, something like that. We have these two sample response file, and now you can ask the AI to code the core logic for you. Let's just come back to the Cloud Code. Now we're gonna do 02. Yeah, we can create the empty file right here. 02. Core business. Markdown file is empty. So what I'm gonna do, create a spec, this one. The spec file should be 02 core business.md. Yeah, just remember, we need to put a slash. This is a slash command, it's not a regular document. Now, you can write a complete user instructions. Right? We say create a business. Yeah, the first one I think is just to, yeah, you need to get the keys, the API key. Remember that we have a dot key list which has 10 keys. We want this run keys one by one. It's called a round robin rotation, such that we are not gonna hit the rate limit quickly. So get key. Because there's also rate limit about you can only do 4 API calls with one key. So we'd better just wait for a while before trying the next key. We can tell Cloud Code to do this, right? Yeah, I think this way it's not gonna hit rate limit quickly. So, and this one should be async because you get key. Sometimes you need to wait 5 seconds to do that. Yeah, so that's the first thing. The next function we can use async. Yeah, what I'm gonna do, I think is to put stock prices. we should have some input symbol, which is string. I don't think we need something else because yeah, the stock prices does not allow you to input the data range, right? The only thing you can customize is this symbol. So that should be fine. Yeah. This is a string. What is this function supposed to do? Collection of MongoDB. We just give a name, finance. Finance is the name of the database, and a stock symbol is the name of the collection. So you want to just put a different stock to different collections. Yeah. So that's the second function. Let's just double check. Okay, there's something missing. So that's the second one. Third one, yeah, you already know. It's also async function. That should be for the news. Yeah. What do we need to provide input to call this function? I think clearly there is something like a time from, time to. For the news, I don't think we need symbols, different collection, because we don't differentiate stocks in terms of news. So all the news can be put into the same collection, called the news collection. Yeah, I think that's a good starting point. We can always do some refactoring because at the beginning, maybe you couldn't just think of all the scenarios. Just remember, this / command does not do anything. It only generates 02 core business.md, this markdown file. That's all it does. So let's just give it a go. 3 functions. Let's get started.
Mission accomplished. Subtask completed.
Okay, it's done. Let's see, this is 02 core business MD. This spec has been successfully generated. You can take a look at this / command file before executing this file. I think it looks all good. You see it also mentions it's going to create a testing script to test each function of this business logic file. Yeah, this is about a round robin rotation. So it all looks good. However, I noticed I forgot something. In the MongoDB, we need some index. We need a key for each collection. For the stocks, the index should be the date, right? And for the news, the index should be the time published. For each record, this one is different, right? So we can just ask Claude Code to update this information. We can use the same create spec, this / command. Remember, we just add something. If the spec file already exists, then just update according to the user instructions. So we can easily do something like create spec. Okay. And I don't think this time it's going to create a new document. It will just update the existing 02 core business MD this file. Yeah, I think it's very good practice because we have this pattern to use create spec to create another spec. And you can also use the same / command to update an existing spec. Right? And next time, even you just start everything from scratch, just by reading this / commands, you have everything back. Right? So you can fix bugs, or you can do everything from brand new context window. So it's going to be very flexible. Yeah, you see it here. It says you use the app cert, right? Yeah, so that's something we didn't tell him to do, but AI just figure this out automatically.
Mission accomplished.
Okay, so everything's ready.
Subtask
We
completed.
just need to pull the trigger. So the trigger is 02 call business logic. Let's just give it a go. So this is a brand new window. It has nothing, has no memory of what you did before.
Subtask completed.
But now we have 02 the / command. Right. Okay, so let's give it a go. Okay, the task is done. And it says the implementation is complete and all the tests passed. It looks pretty promising, right? So it also just created a business.test.ts file, but we are not quite sure whether it did everything we want, and it's not very easy to test. Of course, we can modify the test case, but it's not flexible, right? What we can usually do is after you implement the utility functions and after you implement the core business logic, the next thing you're going to do is to implement some CLI command line tools, allow you manually test everything, yes, to make sure it's working. And also it's going to be a very useful tool in future, yeah, because it just gives you an interface to execute a command to achieve what you want. So the CLI is always a very good tool. The next step, we're gonna create a CLI to test the functionality of the core business. Right? So I create a new file, and it should be 03, and run CLI.md. What are we gonna do? Still the same. Create this spec first, and then execute this spec. Create a spec, / command, 03, run CLI.md, and followed by your user instructions. We put instructions at here, and implement new TypeScript file. We call it run stocks. Yeah, just run stocks, which is a command line file. I suppose following arguments. Yeah, should be parameters. So input, yeah, input argument should say the arguments. You need to use using y-args full stock followed by stock symbol. This should be. We need to call the business function that we already implemented to do this. So I think we have full stock. Yeah. Call the full stock from this file. It's business.ts. Next one is pull the news. And when we say pull news, we need to specify the date range, the start date and end date. So that need to follow a specific format. This should be date range string. Date range string. It's called pull news. Yeah. We need to define what should be a valid date range string. It must be something like YYYY MMDD to another YYYY MMDD. Yeah. So in this way, because we need to call the pull news, so the AI will be responsible for changing this data range into the valid arguments for the pull news function. Let's just give an example. So what does it mean? This will be changed to from time, let's say midnight, and to end time, I think this should be 2 times. Yeah. So this one will be this from time, and 2 times will be passed to this pull news function. So that's the pull command. We also need the lookup command. The stock should have a symbol. Pass a symbol. So what are we going to do at here? So we pass the symbol. We can get the stock price of that symbol. Then what about the date? I want to know the Apple stock price of yesterday. So I need to pass something else, the symbol, and I use brackets. It means it's optional. Date. This date should also be YYYY and then DD. So what I'm going to do with this, we return the stock price of symbol on a given date. If date is not provided, then return the latest 100 daily prices. So the prices actually contains 5 things: the open, high, low, close, and also the volume. So they all part of the data. So by doing this, you need to look up the stock symbol, the stock symbol collection by using Mongo CRUD operations defined in the we have mongo.ts, right? This file. This one. Okay. Next one is a news. So same thing. News. We need some data range, right? The news. I think for news, the data range should be required. Maybe to do the from date 1 and 2, date 2. Because we already mentioned a lot of details at here, I don't think we need to replicate. So the AI should be smart enough to figure this out. We only need to tell it to return the corresponding, I like this word, corresponding news document from the news collection by checking the unpublished. Yeah, I think that's it. It should be a good starting point. Last but not least, for every CLI tool, you need to have this one to help provide detailed help information, also give detailed examples. Yeah, I think that should be enough. Let's just give it a go.
Mission accomplished.
Okay.
Subtask completed.
Okay, the task is done. And next, we are going to execute this / command 03 run CLI. Just do 003 and run CLI. Yeah, still we need to exit. Yeah, that's quite annoying. I really hope the Claude team can improve it. Every time I quit a new / command, I have to quit and enter again. Yeah.
Subtask completed.
No arguments needed. Let's just give it a go.
Subtask completed. Mission accomplished.
It finished the task. Let's just test how it works. Just from the SRC on stocks.ts. Let's first test the help message. Is that what we expect to see? Yeah, it also add a version. Right, I think it's just from the y-axis. So stocks, pull news. Well, let me first check because it did some tests. Maybe it already has written some data to a MongoDB. Let me quickly test it. The Mongo connection is this one. So I can just use Mongo. And the port number is 27018. Yeah. Show DBs, and I didn't see any other DBs, so it looks like it doesn't write anything. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to see whether I can pull some data stock prices and save it into the Mongo. So what I'm gonna do is just use this command, get latest 100 IBM stock prices. Yeah, it should be this one. To pull the stock, we're gonna call the REST API using our Alphavantage API key. and save the response into the Mongo. Let's see whether I can handle this task. We do this, put in stock data for Apple. Really? So quick. Let me check. So then in the Mongo, I call it show DBS. Yeah, you see the finance here. db.finance thing. That should be the syntax. So I need to use finance, sorry, and I show the collections. Yeah, you see the stock AAPL? That's exactly what we want to see, because here in the core business logic, we told the AI that we want to use the stock and dash the symbol to be the collection. So yeah, that's this one. Let's check. And yeah, because there's a dash here, so we need to use this bracket, stock AAPL. That's Apple's price. Show everything. It looks nice. Let me just do it pretty. Yeah, it saves everything. Cool. So this one is working. Let's check next the command. So to put a news, we need the most recent news, maybe 2025. 2025 December 23rd. This one. The sales and news articles has been put. Let's check. We should have a new collection called the news. Yeah, it's here. We need to find the news. Yeah, we have all the data. Cool. So we saved everything into the Mongo. So now you can just provide the different arguments for the CLI to pull the different data. Because every day we have 10 keys, and each key can be used 25 times. So you can call the API 250 times per day. Once you have the data, then you can ask questions. MCP server should be able to look up the answer. Okay, so let's just check whether it can read the data from the MongoDB. So this is going to be much simpler to do. So if I do the, yep, but I think you must pull the data first. Otherwise, it's not going to do lazy loading, right? So the symbol. What do we just say? That's AAPL, right? The date. 2025. Maybe. Yeah, 1st of December. Yeah, perfect. You see, that's the price. But just remember, so the weekend has no stock price. Exchange is not open in the weekend. So you must make sure this one is not weekend day, not Saturday and Sunday. So I think you can do the same thing for the news as well. Perfect. The CLI is working. The last step is to build MCP server on top of it. Okay, now we have everything ready. We have utility functions, we have business core logic. It's just the time to build the MCP server. To everyone's surprise, this step is actually very simple. So once you have all these things ready, and building the MCP server is possibly the easiest thing to do. Why I say that? Because I prepared a template. In the GitHub, I wrote a template which is called Bun MCP Template. So this can be used to quickly build any TypeScript and a Bun related MCP server. So this one is just a placeholder. It only contains 2 tools. So one of them just sum. You actually create it to get the sum of A and B, right? Plus B. So, but you can use this one as a template to build whatever MCP servers. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. And by the way, this one supports both stdio and SSE. You can specify port numbers. You can just use this one as a template for your AI tool, for your Claude code to do that. So let's just do it. And let's say Claude. Open my Claude. Yeah, it's just same as before. We need to just create a template and then execute the template.
Task completed.
Create spec.
Subtask completed.
This new slash command, you can say just a 04 and build MCP. Okay, now followed by the user instructions. Create a mcp.ts. Build a MCP server by, yeah, I'm gonna use the capital letters for the keyword. Mirror is a very good word, but mirroring this GitHub, you just copy this URL. And here, okay, we don't need the resources, and we don't need the prompts. We just need 2 tools. One is, yeah, you can guess, right? One is the stock price. Get stock price symbol. a string. Yeah. So this one you can tell him the logic to for the CLI. What do we do with the CLI? I think it's stock, right? Stocks. Let's just double check the CLI command. Run stocks. Yeah, I think it's simple to get it is, yeah. So just like this one, because we already have the CLI commands with the arguments. So if you want to describe your logic, you can just use the CLI command, right? To quickly describe what you want when you build the MCP tools. So here, for CLI, the symbol. Yeah, simple does. Second one, you name it, get news. When you want to get news, you need what? I think you need from, there should be y, and then dd, and to. When we want to get news for the MCP, if you want to make our tool very useful, you possibly need some filters. This one is special. For example, if I want to know what happened to the Apple stock price, so I don't want to put all the news, I just want to get some news about Apple, right? Apple specific news. So I possibly need a keyword, and this keyword is say just for search, okay? So what does it do? First, do what a CLI. I think it's just that's news. Followed by a data range. Then you need to tell what this keyword actually means. Because this one is new. In the CLI command, we don't have a keyword for search. Like here, keyword I think is important for the MCP, and keyword is for filtering. Yeah, let's just check, right? So if you want to use a keyword to filter, basically you are calling MongoDB's find command just to put some keyword there. It's for filtering the, we need to filter specific fields of the Mongo. So I think we want to filter the title because title might contain the keyword. What else? I think summary, absolutely summary. Yeah, I think it's just the title and the summary. Yeah, it's for filtering the title and summary. MongoDB news collection documents. Yeah, I think that should be enough. Let's just double check. At this moment, you only need 2 tools. Yeah. Let us say make sure to describe these 2 tools as well as their parameters in detail. Remember, we have 2 sample JSON files, and this actually contains lots of information. This can tell what the response, what the output this tool is supposed to provide to the MCP client. So it's better just make the MCP be aware of these 2 examples as well when they write descriptions, right? Use the samples from sample news.json and sample stocks JSON in your tool description. So this should be one shot. You don't need to provide so many things. I think just one item which can show you the structure of the response, that should be enough. Okay, I think now we can just give it a go. Just remember, this one does not execute the thing. It just creates this 04 build mcp.md, this spec. Okay, let's just pull the trigger. Yeah, we need to wait for a while, but hopefully it's not gonna be too long. You can see the structure, the to-do list right here. Okay, the task is completed. We noticed something as it didn't just put 04 build MCP into the correct commands list folder, but it's in the repos root folder. So let's just remove this one to the commands folder. And let's just take a quick look. So it does tell you to build MCP server from this template, this GitHub template. And transport mode, they both stdio and SSE, good. So this is fine. And the tools, the first tool is get stock prices, 2 parameters, symbol and date. Yeah, if date is not provided, then just pull the latest 100 stock prices. So that's very good. It also provides a one-shot sample. Yeah, it also defines a TypeScript interface. And this one is yeah, that's the stock prices. The other one is get news, similar. Let's just quickly try to see whether it works as expected. Yeah, let's just give it a go to execute 04 build MCP. This one. So that's the command to build MCP server. Okay, you see the to-do list has been created. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, Cloud Code has done the job and the MCP server has been built. Let's just do some quick test. So let's first take a look what change it has made. The mcp.ts is a new file. It is generated and this one specifically for running the MCP server. So if you take a look at package.json, you will see it built 2 scripts. One MCP, this for Stdio, and the other one is for the SSE transport. Okay, so let's just first try the first one, this one. Yeah, I think we need to do some setup. So we need to know the kind of folders, kind of folder full path. So we need to run the Bun. The full path is this one and src mcp.ts, mcp.ts. Yeah, so this one should start the Stdio server. And let's just test this one using Postman. So in Postman, you can create MCP server by clicking the file and new and choose MCP and here. You see by default it uses Stdio. You just copy and paste this full path. The executable is Bun. And we better just give it a name. So the name is Alphavantage. Okay. So let's just test from here. I think that's fine. So the employee is some previous tutorial we tested, right? Let's quickly connect. Yeah, it can list tools. We have 2 tools. Stock prices and get news. Let's see whether it works. Stock prices. The date. This one is optional. Symbol. Let's see. Maybe Apple. Okay. Yeah. So you know that we must set this environment variable. This one is in .env, but in production we can't use .env. So you must set this environment variable in the MCP itself. So you see the environment here. And we first do a disconnect. Yeah, we need to set up the Mongo connection string, this environment variable. It should be localhost 278. Okay, that's it. Save it, connect again, and let's see it's gonna release time is gonna be different. So by the way, one reason I really like to use Postman as a MCP client is because every time when I do the reconnect, previously what I entered will still be here. It keeps your input, so you don't need to rewrite your input parameters, which MCP inspector doesn't have this functionality. Every time it started from scratch, I have to re-enter everything again. It's quite annoying, but this one is pretty good. And I click run. Yeah, perfect. You see the prices. And because I didn't say the date, it just gave you all the 100 daily prices, right? The last 100 daily prices. If I specify something like 2025, December the 22nd maybe. Yeah, so it's only just one this price. Open, high, low, close, volume, everything. And the second get news, this one, let's see. So I don't know which data we put, but let's just try something. The keyword, this one is optional. At this moment, I don't put it. This one to see whether it can give me the full result. I run it. No new articles. Okay. So basically, there's no articles in the database. Let's just double check it on Mongo. Yeah, actually we have data in 23rd. Let's see from 23rd. I don't know whether it's gonna work, right? So ideally, it should be from midnight to the last second of the 23rd. Yeah, it works to give you all the data. So let's test whether the filter works for the keyword. Let's just check. Yeah, you can put whatever. So it should just search the title and summary. So I'm gonna use Omnicom for this one to see whether it's gonna filter the result. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's only just one record, 2 records. Yeah, perfect. I think Claude Code has done a nice job. So for now, the stock price is working. Again, news is also working. Perfect. Now let's try the SSE to see whether SSE works in the same way. In SSE, so if I take a look at the package.json here, we can specify the port number. In the SSE transport, we need to run the server first. We're gonna run this one from our command line. I'm gonna give a new port number, maybe 3456. This one, it's running. Let's see if it works. So here I'll first rename this one, existing one, to Stdio, save it, and then we just create another one. So yeah, you can duplicate this one, and now this one should be SSE. Okay, so HTTP, you need to specify this endpoint. Yeah, I think it should have /SSE. Let's just double check. So connect. No, it's not SSE. It might be something else. Yeah, I think there's some errors here. So SSE does not work, and it has 500 errors. Let's see whether we can ask Claude to fix this problem. Yeah, the stream is not readable. This error. I see the SSE transport having this error. Yeah. The problem is with the express.json. It's middleware consuming the request stream before the SSE transport. I think Claude Code has fixed the issue. Now let's just verify if the SSE works now. Let's come to here. Yeah, let's start the server first. Let's do the 3456 port number. Then do the connect. Yeah, this time it's working. See, it can list these two tools. Let's try the stock prices first and AAPL. Yeah, perfect, it's working. Now let's see if we can enhance something. So the get stock prices, we know it's working. So if I use the Apple stock prices on a specific day, you see it's fine. I just get the data. But if I change to another stock price and Tesla, you see there's nothing, no stock data found. That's because we didn't pull this data. And our MCP server can only return the data if they exist in a MongoDB. So what we have to do is that we need to come back to our command line. We need to do something. This one, we have to run this CLI command first. Yeah, and now we must make sure this one exists in the MongoDB. And then you can see that using MCP server. So now if I execute this command, yeah, you see it. So this means that if this stock, we have never called this before, and the MCP client using this one by passing the symbol is not going to work. And what we can do to improve it is if the get stock prices didn't find this one in a database in a MongoDB, it should proactively pull the data first and then find the data again. By doing this, you can always find any stock symbols. Okay, let's just try to improve this point. Let's just come back to our Claude Code. Yeah. We can tell the Claude Code to do this. Let's try to make the Claude Code understand. We need to copy the behavior of the CLI. And the CLI should put stock, then followed by the symbol. Okay, and I think Claude Code has done the job. Let's just verify. Okay, now let's try again. And still using the Stdio, this protocol, and I connected. Yeah, let's just try some stock symbols we never run before. For example, I think it's Google, this one. I don't think this one exists. And let's just check. So in the MongoDB, and we can call show collections. Yeah, we have an Apple, AUD, USD, IBM, Tesla, but we don't have Google, right? Let's just try something new. So we try to Google the symbol on a date, December the 22nd. Let's just give it a go. It takes a while. Yeah, I think that's a good sign. It means that we are putting some data. Yeah, perfect. You see, Now the Google data is ready. And if we check the collections again, yeah, you see this one. So it means now our MCP server is more powerful. If you pass any new symbols that does not exist, it's gonna pull the data first. Now let's test in the MCP server using MCP client. Today we're gonna use Cursor. I think in Cursor you can do a lot of things. So in Cursor you can click Settings, Cursor Settings, and there's a tools and MCP. So I have 2 other MCP servers running, but you can add your own. Click New MCP server. So at here you can add a new definition. I already put it in my clipboard, so you just paste it. You see, but basically the same settings. You see the Alphavantage command is Bun, args is mcp.ts full path. You also need to specify the environment variable, which is a Mongo connection string. Yeah, this one. So it's all done. You can verify by seeing this new Alphavantage MCP server with two tools available: get stock prices, get news. Yeah, that's fine. And now we can test it by asking questions. And now we can ask some questions like this. Yeah, let's open the agent mode in Cursor and show me the close price of which stock. We just try to find a new stock. Nvidia, last 2 weeks. You see it just got a symbol and pass the symbol to your MCP. Yeah, so that's the close price. Okay, so we have built a new MCP server and it's working properly. There is one point worth noting. Alphavantage actually has its own official MCP server. So let's just see this one. So they have their own MCP server. However, you need some API key. You can't just do some round robin rotation. You must have an official API key. Normally you need to pay. But the worst part of it is not this. Just let's see. I think they have some, has Cloud Code installation guide. So let's see if I'm using this official MCP in our Cloud Code. Yeah, let's see what will happen. And now we install this official Alphavantage MCP. Yeah, let's just leave these keys here. We don't care at this moment. Match is found. I think I need to just add some code here. Yeah, it's added. And now we start the Cloud Code. Okay, so if we use /context.
Subtask completed. Subtask completed.
So you'll see something very astonishing, right? And Cloud Code has 200K. That's the context size for Sonnet 4.5 outside Opus. However, 55% has already been taken. And among this 55%, the MCP tools itself is 86K, which occupies about 43% of our existing context window. So you can only use less than 100K for your own logic. I don't think this one is acceptable. You see the official Alphavantage, they provide so many tools, but I don't think we need so many. We probably just only want to get stock prices or get some news. So why need to install so many things? You would never use this one in production and in practice, you know? So that's why I recommend, if it's not too difficult, you just follow our pattern from analyzing and research your problem, and then write utility functions, and then write CLI, and then build MCP server by yourself to only provide the tools that you need. Remove anything that you don't want, right? So you see this one has 109K, and let's just check our own MCP server size, context size, right? So I quit. I remove this one. I can remove this Alphavantage. That's the official MCP. And now we add our own MCP server. And we still just name it as Alphavantage, and followed by the command is Bun. And this one, yeah, that's our own version of Alphavantage MCP server. Now let's check the context window again.
Subtask completed.
It's only 0.8%, and it's
Subtask
only 1.6K. It just contains the 2 tools that we really want. One is get stock pricing, the other is get news. There's no other things. And it still see so many contexts we can use for our own logic, you know. Yeah, I think that's the reason why we need to write MCP server always by ourselves if we know the REST APIs, because it's not just too difficult to do that. And in the next tutorial, I'm going to tell you how to write efficient MCP server and by using readduck that tool. So what you will find from my official GitHub is here. If you look at the definition of tools, you see something called a readduck, and we can link all our documentations
ROS
together
agent needs your input.
for the MCP client to search, but still maintain a very small size of the context window. Okay. In the next tutorial, we're gonna focus on this. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.